From the beaches of Normandy to the jungles of the Pacific, American forces carried the most technologically advanced infantry arsenal ever assembled. These are the most important weapons that defined American firepower in World War II. Let's begin. Rifles and carbines, the infantry backbone. M1 Garand, the battle winner. General George Patton called this the greatest battle implement ever devised, and he was right. This semi-automatic 30-06 rifle gave American infantry a massive firepower advantage over enemies' still working bolt-action rifles. Firing 8 rounds from an internal clip as fast as soldiers could pull the trigger without manually cycling a bolt, it allowed American troops to outshoot German and Japanese infantry in every engagement. The distinctive ping sound when the empty clip ejected became the signature of American firepower. M1 Carbine, the universal weapon. This was designed for support troops, officers, and vehicle crews who needed more firepower than a pistol but less weight than a full battle rifle. Firing a smaller .30 caliber cartridge from a 15-round magazine, it weighed just 5.5 pounds. Over 6 million were produced, making it the most manufactured American small arm of the war. Paratroopers, tank crews, and artillerymen carried this weapon that bridged the gap between pistol and rifle. M1A1 Paratrooper Carbine, the Airborne Special. This was the folding stock variant specifically built for airborne forces. The wire stock folded under the weapon, allowing paratroopers to jump with the carbine strapped across their chest ready for immediate action upon landing. The 101st and 82nd Airborne Divisions jumped into Normandy and Holland carrying these weapons that could be brought into action within seconds of hitting the ground. M1903A4 Springfield Sniper, the precision tool. By mounting a Weaver 330C scope on the classic Springfield bolt-action rifle and removing the iron sights, the U.S. military created its primary sniper system. Accurate beyond 800 yards in trained hands, it brought precision fire to chaotic battlefields. Marine snipers in the Pacific and Army snipers in Europe used this weapon to eliminate enemy officers, machine gunners, and snipers from distances enemies could not return fire. M1903 Springfield, the Great War Holdover. This bolt-action rifle was America's primary infantry weapon in World War I and remained in widespread use early in World War II before Garand production ramped up. While slower firing than the semi-automatic Garand, it was accurate, reliable, and could launch rifle grenades. National Guard units and Marines carried these into early Pacific battles before receiving Garands. M1917 Enfield, the Forgotten Rifle. This sturdy British-designed bolt-action rifle was actually carried by more American soldiers in World War I than the Springfield. In World War II, it was issued for training, guard duty, and heavily supplied to Allied forces, including Free French and Chinese armies. The 6-round internal magazine gave it one more round capacity than the Springfield. Submachine guns, close quarters dominance. Thompson M1A1, the wartime workhorse. This was the simplified production version of the famous Tommy gun designed for mass manufacturing. The expensive machined parts, cooling fins, and complicated Blish lock were eliminated for faster, cheaper production. Firing the heavy 45 ACP cartridge at 700 rounds per minute from 30-round stick magazines, it was devastating in close quarters urban combat and jungle fighting. Weighing 10.5 pounds loaded, it was heavy, but soldiers who carried it never complained about stopping power. M3 Grease Gun, the Stamped Steel Warrior. Ugly, cheap, and effective, this submachine gun looked like a mechanic's grease gun, earning its nickname. Made entirely from stamped steel parts welded together, it cost just $20 to manufacture compared to $200 for a Thompson. Firing at only 450 rounds per minute made it more controllable than the Thompson, and the slower rate of fire conserved ammunition. Tank crews particularly valued its compact size and reliability. M50 Rising, the flawed stopgap. This was an early war submachine gun used primarily by Marines before enough Thompsons became available. While accurate when clean, it proved notoriously unreliable in the sandy and muddy conditions of Pacific Islands. The closed bolt design allowed dirt infiltration that caused constant jamming, often requiring Marines to manually force the action closed during firefights. Most were withdrawn from frontline service by 1943. Pistols and revolvers. Sidearm authority. M1911A1. the legendary 45. This semi-automatic pistol firing the massive 45 ACP cartridge became America's service pistol for 70 years. Designed by John Browning and adopted in 1911, the improved A1 version served throughout World War II. The heavy 230-grain bullet had immense stopping power at close range. Rugged, reliable, and proven in combat from the trenches of France to the islands of the Pacific, over 1.9 million were produced during the war. Smith & Wesson Victory Model, the production revolver. This standard .38 special revolver was produced in massive numbers exceeding 570,000 units. While not as powerful as the 1911, it was vital for arming aircrew, Navy personnel, military police, and security guards at stateside installations. The 6-shot cylinder and simple double-action mechanism made it reliable and easy to train personnel with limited handgun experience. High-standard HDM, the silent assassin. This was the whisper-quiet .22 caliber pistol used by the Office of Strategic Services for covert operations. Featuring an integral suppressor built into the slide, it was so quiet that it was famously fired into a sandbag in the Oval Office during a demonstration without President Franklin Roosevelt even noticing. OSS operatives used it for silent elimination of sentries and guard dogs behind enemy lines. FP-45 Liberator, the resistance weapon. This crude single-shot pistol cost roughly $2 to manufacture, and 1 million were produced for airdrops behind enemy lines. The idea was resistance fighters would use it to ambush a German or Japanese soldier, steal their weapon, and join the fight. Made of stamped steel with a smoothbore barrel, it was more psychological weapon than practical combat tool, though thousands were distributed across occupied Europe and Asia. Machine guns, sustained firepower. M1918A2B-AR, the squad automatic. The Browning automatic rifle was the cornerstone of infantry squad firepower. Firing full-power 30-06 rifle rounds at 550 rounds per minute, it bridged the gap between rifle and machine gun. The 20-round magazine limited sustained fire capability, but the weapon provided suppressive fire, allowing riflemen to maneuver. Weighing 19.5 pounds, it required a strong soldier to carry effectively, but every squad needed one. M1919A4 Browning, the tripod-mounted backbone. This air-cooled medium machine gun provided the base of fire for infantry companies. Mounted on a 14-pound tripod and firing 30-06 ammunition from 250-round fabric belts, it delivered reliable, sustained fire. Weighing 31 pounds without tripod, it required a 3-man crew to operate effectively with gunner, assistant gunner, and ammunition bearer. This weapon defended positions and supported attacks across every theater. M1917A1, the water-cooled champion. This was the heavyweight champion of sustained defensive fire. The water jacket surrounding the barrel allowed continuous fire for hours without overheating or changing barrels. Weighing 41 pounds empty plus the tripod and water, it was a true crew-served weapon unsuited for mobile warfare, but perfect for fixed defensive positions. Many served in the Pacific defending island perimeters through night-long Japanese banzai charges. M2 HB 50 caliber, Ma Deuce. Known affectionately as Ma Deuce, this heavy machine gun could shred light vehicles, aircraft, and fortifications. Firing the massive 50 BMG cartridge at ranges exceeding 1,800 yards, it provided firepower no infantry weapon could match. The design was so perfect that it remains in active U.S. military service today, over 80 years after its introduction. Mounted on vehicles, aircraft, and ships, over 2 million served during the war. Shotguns, trench warfare tools. Winchester Model 1897 trench gun, the slam fire terror. This pump-action shotgun with exposed hammer could slam fire, meaning it fired instantly, as the pump action cycled without releasing the trigger. Loading 6 12-gauge shells in the tubular magazine, it was terrifying in close quarters. German soldiers feared it so much they protested its use as inhumane. The heat shield over the barrel prevented burns from touching the hot metal after sustained firing. Winchester Model 12, the Pacific favorite. This was the sleek, hammerless evolution of the trench gun. Rugged and reliable, it saw extensive use in Pacific jungle warfare, where engagement distances were measured in feet rather than yards. The 12-gauge buckshot loads fired 9 .33 caliber pellets per shell, devastating at close range against Japanese infantry in dense vegetation. Ithaca 37, the bottom ejector. This shotgun featured bottom ejection, which kept dirt and debris out of the action, making it highly reliable in harsh combat environments. The bottom ejection also made it essentially ambidextrous, allowing both right and left-handed soldiers to operate it effectively. Marines valued this feature during Pacific Island fighting in sandy and muddy conditions. Anti-tank and support weapons, armor killers. M1A1 Bazooka, the infantry tank killer. This revolutionary shoulder-fired rocket launcher gave infantry soldiers a fighting chance against enemy armor. Firing a 2.36-inch rocket with shaped charge warhead, it could penetrate over 4 inches of armor plate at ranges up to 300 yards. The backblast was dangerous to anyone standing within 15 feet behind it, requiring careful positioning. Over 500,000 were produced, and it saw service on every front. M18 recoilless rifle, the handheld cannon. Introduced late in the war, this 57mm weapon vented propellant gas out the rear to eliminate recoil, allowing soldiers to shoulder fire an artillery shell. Effective against bunkers and light armor up to 500 yards, it weighed only 45 pounds, allowing two-man teams to manhandle it into firing positions impossible for conventional anti-tank guns. M1 57mm anti-tank gun, the crew served killer. This was a license-built version of the British 6-pounder anti-tank gun, towed by jeeps or trucks and served by a crew of 5. It fired armor-piercing shot capable of penetrating 3 inches of armor at 1,000 yards. While eventually outclassed by German heavy tanks, it remained effective against lighter armor and provided valuable direct fire support for infantry assaults. Explosives and demolitions, obstacle clearance. Mark II fragmentation grenade, the pineapple. This iconic grenade featured a cast iron body with deep grooves for grip and fragmentation. Weighing 1 pound 5 ounces with a 4 to 5 second fuse delay after releasing the safety lever, it was the standard weapon for clearing rooms, bunkers, and enemy foxholes. The segmented body created deadly fragments effective up to 10 yards with dangerous shrapnel traveling 50 yards. M15 white phosphorus grenade, Willie Pete. This grenade burst into burning white phosphorus particles igniting at 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit that could not be extinguished with water. Used for smoke screens, signaling, and flushing enemies from cover, the psychological terror effect was immense. Soldiers hit by burning phosphorus fragments faced horrific injuries, making this one of the most feared weapons on the battlefield. Bangalore torpedo, the wire breaker. Made famous on D-Day, these were 5-foot sections of pipe filled with explosive that could be connected and pushed under barbed wire obstacles and minefields. When detonated, they cleared paths through German beach defenses, allowing infantry to advance. Engineers assembled these under fire on Omaha Beach, enabling the breakthrough that saved the invasion. Knives and bayonets, last resort weapons. USMC K-Bar, the Marine legend. This 7-inch fighting knife became the beloved trademark of U.S. Marines. Rugged enough to pry open ammunition crates, sharp enough for combat, and balanced for throwing, it served every purpose from utility tool to last-ditch weapon. Over 1 million were produced, and Marines carried them throughout the Pacific Campaign from Guadalcanal to Okinawa. M1 Garand bayonet, the final assault tool. Initially issued as a 16-inch sword-style bayonet, it was later shortened to 10 inches for practicality. Mounted on the M1 Garand rifle, it remained both psychological and physical weapon for final assaults. While bayonet charges became rare in World War II, the presence of the blade influenced enemy morale and provided a backup weapon when ammunition ran out. Mortars and flamethrowers, special purpose fire. M2 60mm mortar, the pocket artillery. This lightweight mortar allowed infantry companies to drop explosive shells on enemies hiding behind ridges or inside trenches. Weighing 42 pounds complete, it could be carried by a 3-man team and brought into action within seconds. Maximum range exceeded 1,800 yards, providing commanders with organic indirect fire support without calling division artillery. Conclusion: from the M1 Garand to the M250 caliber still serving today, These weapons defined American combat capability in World War II. Each weapon represented industrial might, tactical innovation, and the determination to arm soldiers with the best equipment possible.